My father's biggest mistake is that he forgot I'm crazy. Hey, I'm Amanda, you're watching Girly Pop Go, and today we are talking about how my father challenged me to a race at K1 Speed after Christmas. Amanda, it's March. I know. In my defense, January was on fire, and I don't have any other excuses for why it took me this long to sit down and film this, okay? But that's what happened. Let me set the scene for you, okay? Because after the Las Vegas Grand Prix for Formula One, I went on a cruise with my dad and his girlfriend, okay, in December, and we were going to be spending Christmas Day onward in Vegas because that's where my dad's girlfriend lives. And I was like, oh, it might be fun for us to all go to like K1 Speed together and like race. That might be a good time. Now, as my dad's girlfriend is like, oh, that's a good idea, X, Y, and Z, my dad looks me in the eyes and goes, unprompted, I'm gonna get a better time than you. I'm gonna beat you, and I'm gonna do it in 2 laps. Me? Out of line, deranged, and rude, frankly, because he's forgetting who I am. He's known me for 27 years. He should know that I am crazy. He didn't know, okay, that I live not too far from a K1 Speed. So then I decided, once we got back from this cruise, that I would train every single day till we raced. And that's exactly what I did. So here is how I trained at K1 Speed with the sole goal of curb stomping my father. So these are not all individual days. These are individual races that I did. And this is my baseline, okay, to see where I need to improve. What I would try to do is go and do at least a minimum of 1 race, but I would typically do 3 every time I went. There were a few skipped days from the time I got back from the cruise to the time that we actually left, mainly because there would be times where I would go in and the wait would be like 3 hours. You actually can't reserve any race times at K1 Speed unless you have a group of 8 or more. They call it arrive and drive. I would put my name in, check in, pay for my races, and then go. Now, when you pay for your races, you can save those. You don't have to do them all in one go. If like you like do one and you're like, I'm kind of over it, the line's long, I'm gonna come back, let me save the other ones. Okay, you can do that if you would like. Obviously, I would try to go and do them all in one go. Sometimes I would put my name in, go do something else, and then come back. But typically, because I am self-employed and I'm a busy person, this was also December, so I was also doing Swellmas over on Swell Entertainment, where I was putting out 1 video every single weekday while spending at least a minimum of an hour at K1 Speed. I would find that the best time for me to go would be around the time they opened. There was multiple times that I went and I was the only one there, and so I could basically have the track to myself, which was great. Which I love that K1 Speed does this, because I love data. I can see the progression. I also vlogged a little bit at the time here, but obviously I would go alone, so I had no one that could film for me while I was there. And then I did the onboard cam a few times, so I have some of that footage as well, which we'll go through as well. I just see how bad my times were. Okay, so the 9th, I just did 2 races, okay, and my average time was not good. The important thing is that I tried. Okay, I should note, this is not my first time going to K1. We tried to go for my birthday this past year, but the wait was too long and only 2 of us would have been able to go. It wasn't a good time, so we didn't go. But prior to doing this experiment, I have not been to K1 Speed since I was probably in about middle school. And I want it on the record that there was once upon a time that I would win races at my friends' birthday parties whenever they were at K1 Speed. I want that on the record, okay? Do I have the data for that? No, I was probably like 12, okay? But there was a time where I could do that. And then apparently when I came back as an adult, I could not find the racing line. This first one, I came in last place, 4th, okay, with my best time, 35.689. The next person below me, their best time was 27.572. So real slow, very slow. I was so slow I only did 8 laps on both of my first days. The average is 12. Next day, okay, came back again. 29.981. Great improvement. Getting used to the track, getting used to the cars. Okay. Much more improvement. So 32.491, but it had my average at 39.203, which is only because we had 1 lap that was 81.420. I may have to recalculate some of this data because I would like to take off the laps that are absolutely diabolically awful, because it's usually not my own fault. What would happen is that they stop all of the carts on track when a cart spins out or a cart dies or a cart is going way too slow and they have to swap it out. So therefore, the clock doesn't stop. All of our carts are stopped though. That's where you have some laps that are 81 seconds. K1 speed, when you're on track with other people, it's not just you, which is the same with any race, but with K1 speed in particular, like you are really determined by like the skill of everyone else. So I'm sure the first couple of days I was pissing a lot of people off because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Again, I'm coming in last place here, but there's a great improvement in my times where it's 28.691 for my fastest time. 26 seconds, best time, but my average was 27.48. Much better improvement. It sounds marginal, but considering the fact that I went in and like could not find the racing line whatsoever, getting better. And I'm also not spinning out. And it's also crazy because the way I would go multiple times and also different times of the day and get used to how the track felt, because this track is inside a warehouse, obviously, but it's just like pavement and it's not super, it's not like really worn down. It's basically like an unfinished floor of a warehouse, essentially, okay, with like some slicker spots and others. So I could tell when the cart that I was driving was more worn in than others if they had just swapped out the tires, obviously, and things like that. And so I could tell when the track was stickier, because if I went in the afternoon on a busier day, the track would be way stickier and grippier versus other times where I was literally like, I could feel one of the wheels coming off the ground. Not sure exactly which day I started doing the onboard camera.
Yes, you do, because all the videos have timestamps, baby. It was December 14th.
You do pay by the video when you do that. This one that I came in first, 27.702 was my fastest lap compared to 2 other people that I raced with. On the 14th, I raced with 9 other people and I came in second, where I was like, I'm getting better, you know, considering there would be times where I could have come in last on these ones. So coming in second with 9 other people, I think is great. Okay, so there is, where was it? So my fastest lap at one point is what got me on the Burbank Adult Best of the Week. 23.906. I don't remember which day that was. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. But at some point, I got the fastest lap of the week. But I don't think I ever got to 23 again. So either I had a supercharged car at that one or something else happened. When you do more and more races with K1 is where you start realizing the issues with K1. Okay, sorry K1, but you guys on occasion irritated the absolute fucking life out of me, because there you could feel, especially once you got used to the karts, when they would throttle the karts. Okay, you could feel it actually happening, especially when you are very locked in and then you feel your cart slowing down, regardless of the fact that your foot is on the floor. There would be times where someone ahead of you or you are close to someone and they are not as good as you, or they are not listening to the flags. The flags in particular, the one that they would usually enforce this on is the passing flag, or they would literally hold up the sheet that says let them pass or let pass, okay? And they wouldn't listen. They would throttle on occasion me or throttle anyone else on track to prevent colliding with this person because they didn't know how to let someone pass. That's typically what I experienced. Or they had some like 15-year-olds that were playing and they didn't want anyone to crash into them. But side note, there was one race, and I have this on one of the videos, okay, of this child that just drove me into the wall instead of letting me pass. Which fair, fine, whatever, okay. But also, twerp. What happened a lot is they would not enforce the rules. If people were doing bumper cars when they weren't supposed to, the answer to me is pull them out of the car until they stop. If they don't listen to the first warning or the second warning, get them out of the car. Not throttle everyone else so that no one's around each other. That is annoying. I know, it's a business. They paid money, but still, it's annoying, and it ruins everyone else's experience. I went in and raced by myself. My best time was 26 laps on that first race, on that first lap, and then I raced with Kevin, and then I think we did one more, but I can't seem to find the sheet. His best time, which this is how I knew I was making good improvement, because I raced with Kevin, okay? Kevin, who was probably in his 50s, okay, and came in with his own helmet, his own chest padding, okay, and his own racing gloves. And I was like, oh, and his own neck brace. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm with the master. Okay, this is good. Okay. So he was like, oh, it's just you two. Do you guys want to go? So me and Kevin raced. Okay. And Kevin's best time was 25.592 and mine was 26.927. Okay. But I talked to Kevin and Kevin said that this is his golf. He goes to K1 Speed and this is his golf. Shout out Kevin. Kevin, if you see this. Kevin was like, I explained, I'm going to curb stop my father. Kevin was like, great. What you need to do is go to other locations so that way you get used to it. Because we weren't racing at the Burbank location, which is where I did all my training. Okay. We were going to be racing at the one in Vegas, obviously. You don't want to get too familiar with this one and then not be good at the other one. He was like, you also get one of these. He points to his helmet because I'm using the rental helmets, obviously the ones that are there. And he was like, you got to get your own, because you put this on, you lock in, you feel the weight of it, you get used to it. This is the variable that you can control. And I was like, fuck. I do have a race helmet, but I've painted it, so I don't know if they would let me bring it in. I did use paints that are allowed on the helmet, but I don't know if they would let me wear it with it. I should have asked. I never did. But yeah, I have a helmet. The Girly Pop Go helmet on the marketing. That's my helmet that I have currently. But Kevin was fun. Shout out Kevin. I don't think Kevin will see this, but if Kevin sees this, sup Kevin. This is probably one of the last days that I went because it was getting closer to Christmas. Swellness was ramping up, and I had to get ready to do all my shenanigans to leave for my trip. In this time as well, while I'm doing all of this, decided I was going to DM a bunch of Formula E, F1, IndyCar, and F1 Academy drivers to ask for karting advice so that I could curb stomp my father. I don't think I put the word curb stomp in my DM to all of them, but I did ask for advice. For F1 Academy, a lot of the drivers that are currently announced for the new 2025 season had not been announced yet. So I just went through a lot of the drivers that I already knew. 2 of the people that I DM'd did reply to me, okay? Jess Edgar is one of them, who drove the Amex car for F1 Academy last year and is no longer driving for F1 Academy this year. She's doing other different series that she's working on, but I DM'd her. The message I DM'd everyone: hi, my dad and I have challenged each other to a race at K1 Speed after Christmas. I am taking defeating him very seriously, and I'm reaching out to see if you have any karting tips. And Jess replied and said, hey, my best tip is have fun, laughing, crying emoji, and don't try and go flat out everywhere. You do have to brake. The other person I messaged who did get back to me was Zoe E, who races stadium super trucks. Zoe said, your best bet is to use all the track and carry momentum as much as you can. Since the karts don't have a lot of power, your rolling speed has to be up. The less brake, the better. I always say outside, inside, outside, meaning you enter most corners on the outside of the track at the apex, hit the inside, and then the speed will take you back to the outside of the track. Heart emoji. Carrying momentum and speed is your best bet since the karts don't have enough power to get you out of mistakes. Hopefully that made sense. And I said yes. They're the only 2 that responded to my DMs. Valid, fair, fine, okay, I'm nobody. Then I went to the race service event with Joseph Newgarden. If you want to see those videos, they are on my page, okay? And so I was like, wait, this is perfect. Maybe I'll get to ask Joseph for advice. So I did include this clip already in those videos, but I will include this again here. They did a Q&A, and I talked about how I had seen him win at the Indy 500 this past year, which was a good win, even though I may have wanted Pato to win, but still, okay. I can acknowledge a good win. So we talked about that, and then I explained the very serious question I had to ask him about curb stomping my father. And that is where 2-time Indy 500 winner and IndyCar driver Joseph Newgarden told me to put my dad in the wall.
Put Dan in the wall.
Well, first he had asked if I had ever done that and said it's not ethical, but if you're willing to do it.
If you end up taking him out, it's up to you. You can tell him that I gave you permission to do that.
Okay.
His name is Dan.
Is it Dan?
Yeah.
Dan's going down.
Did not have any time to go back to K1 Speed. Okay, so I had to wait until Christmas. So we were supposed to go on the 26th. We did not have time because no one listened to me. Then lost a couple of competitors because we had to reschedule the day. But we're at the K1 Speed, you can't see it, in Las Vegas, near the Palms and the Rio.
Have you trained?
I have trained. I know you haven't. You told me you haven't. But we paid for 3 races for each of us, okay? And my dad is all hyped up. He's like, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to take you out. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put you in a wall because I was told I could. I had researched the track in Vegas. It was not as many straightaways as was at the Burbank location. The straightaways I feel like are easier to get used to, okay, if you're not used to driving these karts. And then but the turns, once you figure out your turns, much more locked in, okay? The karts for the K1 Speed in Vegas different from the karts at the Burbank location. Functionally, they are the same. There is nothing to protect your knees, the inside of your knees, from the wheel, okay? The bars attached to the wheel. Now, I don't care, and I was willing to win. I was going to do anything to win, but the bruising that I had. Yes, my pants are on my ankles, but there's no easier way to show you. So this bruise is old, but these two match, and it's because of the bar on the cart in K1 in Vegas. Whacking my knees on this thing. Just every time I hit a turn, every time I had to hold the turn in, I was just whacking my knee into this thing. It sucked. Honestly, it sucked. That was awful. Okay. So We only ended up doing one race, my father and I. We get to the line, we get on the track, we start going, okay? And it's like a little slow lap, and then you zoom, okay? Then you get going. I immediately, even before they let us go, start overtaking my father and start pushing him into the wall. It's a very slow wall. I overtake him very quickly. Without looking, I know I'm beating him. Okay, I know I'm not winning, but I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to beat him. That's all I care about right now, okay? Race ends. I see the time. I beat my father. I'm like, fuck yeah. And my dad walks by me, and I have my helmet on, so I don't really fully hear him. I heard him say, I'm not doing well. And I'm like, yeah, you're driving like shit, because I'm an asshole. Understandably. I didn't understand that what he meant was he's not doing well as in he doesn't feel good. This man could not handle these little cars. He got nauseous from, we don't know, whether it was driving this low to the ground, the view, the helmet, who knows. He went outside and dry heaved for a bit and then was like, I can't go again. Therefore, I win by forfeit. I was like, so you forfeit. He's now 60 years old. He was 59 at the time, but this is where he was like, I'm getting old. Okay. I was like, yeah, you can't talk shit and then not back it up. There's that. Okay. At least I like locked in and was training. I got 4th place, 26.910, which for my first lap at a new facility, fairly solid considering my first lap at the other place was 39 seconds at a brand new track that I hadn't been to yet. I'm really happy with that, frankly. My dad got 8th with 28.990. Did have more races. My dad gifted me his races, so when I want to go back to K1 Speed, I can use the rest of the race. I was like, okay, let me just do like 2 more that we have already logged in for me, and then I'll save the other 2 from my dad's later, because he was like, I'm never coming back here again. I was like, okay, so this is not a yearly tradition. This next race ticked me off so much to the point that I have not been back to K1 Speed since. Basically, I could have passed this twerp in front of me, which I'm calling him a twerp. He was like 16 or something. When my dad was outside dry heaving, the dad of this group of children, okay, the adult in the room, my dad saw these teenagers throwing water bottles at each other and like trying to splash each other with water and stuff, and the guardian of this group was like, whoa, save it for inside. So I'm sure you can understand where this is going. Kids were playing bumper cars, okay, and whacking into me, whacking into other people, which fine, whatever, okay, I can take a bop around here and there, okay, but they stopped the race twice to tell them to knock it off, and then to tell them to listen to the flags. So then when this continues to happen for the rest of the race, and you're not stopping it again, you're not pulling these kids out of the carts and saying, knock it off, what do? You throttle everyone else. So my best time average dropped down by 3 whole seconds, because rather than getting this kid who was bopping into everyone to let me pass or make him let me pass because I was doing better than him, they just slowed me down a whole like 2 seconds. And I was irritated so much to the point that I was like, I'm not even gonna do the 3rd race. Like, I will save it for later. I'm gonna leave. I'm so done. I'm so annoyed because I'm not racing with these kids again. At a certain point, I'm just like, I'm choosing the adult thing of leaving. You have races racked up, and I will race again to maintain the fact that I'm the coolest person in this family. All in all, would I do this bet again? Yes. Would I go karting again? Absolutely. Would like to go karting. I know there's other karting places that aren't K1 Speed, but like K1 Speed just annoy me. So eventually I will go back to K1 Speed. I would like to do karting other places though. I know that the Grand Prix Plaza in Vegas, eventually they want to open up karting, so we'll see how that happens when that goes down. Reminder for you all that I curb stomped my own father. I will curb stomp you too. Have you ever challenged anyone to K1 Speed? Did anyone ever challenge you mistakenly, thinking it would be no big deal and that they could just talk shit for no reason? Let me know. Comment down below. If you'd like to see more Girly Pop Go, be sure to like and subscribe if you like this video, and so you don't miss any more Girly Pop Go videos. And I will talk to you all soon later. Goodbye.